As always, remember to wear your safety glasses, and while I'm doing this in my home shop, I'm intending for you students to be doing this at the school shop where we have the proper torches and torch safety setups, all right? This little piece, little tiny piece of it's 31 gauge copper. So we're going to try to kind of fold form that, and we're going to start out by just sort of folding it over. I'm going to put it on the edge of this block here and start to use that edge. Now you could use a soft blow hammer, probably be a little bit gentler on it. And again, because I use so much of my stuff for steel, raw, kind of rough steel and stuff, my stuff looks a little beat up compared to the jewelry stuff that's on the non-ferrous. Ferrous is iron-based, non-ferrous are non-iron-based. You're holding it, have your fingers off the edge. So now we've got it folded and roughly in half. So now we have work hardened it a little bit when we did that. So before we go any farther, we want to kind of anneal it, heat it up, and kind of soften, heat it up, and let it cool down to soften it. All right. So we're going to do that with a small torch. So here we are again. There's our piece of copper, and you notice I have it leaning up against. It's not laying flat on the brick here. At school we have some little racks too. Basically, I would spend more time. The brick would soak up so much of the heat. At school, we have soft brick, which actually absorbs less of the energy of the heat, so you could probably lay it flat there. You just want to be careful if you're leaning like that, not to overheat it and bend it. Anyway, I'm going to use a little propane torch to do this. At school, we have the acetylene. Should always be careful. Don't use a match or anything to light these. Use a striker. Make sure it works. Before you go to use it, you're going to open it up a little bit and light it. But at school, make sure that do this at school. Be very careful around open flames. You should also be wearing safety glasses. Gloves can be helpful if you're really handling it a lot. I'm going to use a little pliers to pick it up and move it. So don't grab it. Realize that even though I'm going to bring this to a little dull orange glow. But once it's not at the orange glow, it's still hot. We're actually going to cool it by putting it between. You could quench it in water, but I'm going to put it. Saw this guy online do it. Quenched it between two blocks. It sucks the heat out, and then I put all the water stuck inside because of the folded piece. Anyway, all right, I'm going to light this torch and warm that up. So at school we have acetylene air mixed torches that are attached to a tank, and I will go over those with you individually and make sure you understand and how to safely use them. All right, don't just jump in and start using stuff without being directly instructed. Okay? We'll start to see the heat. Kind of move around it and bring you guys in as close as I can. Not the best. Sometimes it's good to not have lighting on, but it's going to start to get to an orange kind of glow pretty quickly there. So you don't need to go any farther. So once it's glowing, just let it turn this off and get it out of my way. I'm going to pick this up. Remember, it's hot. I'm going to lay it on there. I'm going to put it in between these two pieces of metal to suck some of the heat out of it. All right? Then we're going to use a hammer on it. All right. So I've annealed that, and it's really soft now again. And I'm going to trim a little bit because I want to make this kind of a curve on the edge. Not where the fold is. Sorry. Not where the fold is, but on where the two edges are. Okay, so I'm just going to use, this is pretty thin, so I'm just going to use the scissors. I should draw. Now I have this kind of a shape. And I'm going to go back to hammering along that folded edge. Whoops, on my little, I know I switched out bench blocks. Now, I'm going to use a cross-peen hammer. So, not this one. I could try to if I was really gentle, but this is what I usually think of when I say cross-peen hammer. To me, or steel, we got a couple of these little guys I borrowed. In fact, think I'm going to use the littlest one. And what I'm going to do is hammer this along that edge Hopefully not hitting myself in the finger too many times. And harder in the middle than on the edges because there's less material. And I'm going to try to stretch this. And I'm going to kind of have it slightly tilted a little bit. So it's kind of making a wedge shape, we hope. I'm just hitting that edge. So I'm going to keep doing that. You can see it starting to, I don't know if you can see, it's starting to bend. What's happening is it's stretching this material, but I got to hit it some more inside. So I'm going to work on that. So you can see where I've hit it there along the edge. That's the folded edge. And that edge that I cut curved is now, well, it's kind of ripply. It's kind of straighter. Now I'm going to take the soft blow kind of rubber plastic mallet and kind of flatten the whole thing out and then re-anneal it. But you can see how what this is called is stretching. So it's stretched out. When you hit the metal, it thins it and pushes it and stretches it out. Same, and then so it's kind of changed the shape of it.
So you can also see clearly that I've dented up my hunk of steel there, which is fine because it's my hunk of steel. So, but if you have come across blocks that are at school that don't have any dents in them, they're probably more for just doing softer stuff on. So only use things that are already nicked up or are yours.
All right, so I'm going to try to do now. We've got our folded over annealed piece of metal. Got the folded edge here that we pounded on with the cross peen of the hammer going like that. So we sort of stretch that. Now I'm going to try to open it up on the other side. I'll just shove my fingernail in there. Now you can use a knife, but you want to use something that's relatively dull. You don't want to use a really sharp thing because you will scratching or cutting into yourself. Scratching the metal too much. All right, so I was able to get that knife blade in there. And again, this is kind of dull. Don't try it. You don't want to use a really sharp knife. But I can get that in there. I can start to pry that open. And I can then, once I get it sort of open, I can sort of get my my fingers in there. I can start to widen it out. And what's happening as I do this, it's kind of pulling it this way. So I start to get this sort of pod shape. So you can make these sort of like little pod forms.
To clarify, this piece that I'm holding right now, I've already flattened over, so it's already folded and hammered. All right.
But I am going to hammer, instead of hammering along the folded edge, see if I can see the folded edge. Yeah, there's the folded edge, and there's the two we'll call legs. So the two where it's open, or you could open it. So instead of hammering along the folded edge, I'm going to hammer on the leg edge, so to speak. Same sort of method. Let's see what happens. Again, I'm trying to have been better still. Now I could anneal it, but I think I'm going to try to, just going to gently flatten it. Again, but I will try to pry it open again now, from now what is the hammered edge. All right, so I went off camera. I was able to get it opened up a little bit here. Again, by just kind of working this dull blade into there. Again, it's dull, even though it says sharp on it. So you don't cut yourself, but well, you can still you can still jam yourself, but and I didn't anneal it this time, so I wanted to just sort of see once I get it, kind of like more the irregularity. I think I would have
if I do this again, I would do more of that so it has a ruffled, even more of a ruffled edge. It's gonna be a little harder to pull apart. I might have to anneal it. I like the idea that I'm keeping it hard. I don't know. So you get a different, as I peel it this way, as I open it, I get this sort of curve-like shape like this. All right, I'm gonna get carried away there. And you can again kind of take and twist that. Of course, I didn't anneal it, so it's really harder, which I kind of like, so it doesn't go out of shape. I don't know. So I can kind of make this sort of a twisted form. So those are two ways you can kind of create shapes. There's a whole bunch, like you get a bigger piece and fold it and do stuff. I'm going to give you a video where people who do this all the time are going to do it, but I just wanted to have a real simple kind of description here. It's good to watch me mess up. Anyway, have fun.